Hello, everyone. Rudy Productions back. Sorry for the wait. I know I said I wanted to do these like monthly or once every 2 months, but that ended up just not happening for a while. But I am back with my second layout video, and uh, if you guys remember, I actually did a live build of this layout. I didn't complete the layout, but I filmed a live stream of me starting this layout building process. That got taken down due to the fact that I was playing music in the background, and YouTube copyright systems didn't like that, and I just couldn't bother to fix it. Here's an overview of the layout. But this is why I didn't bother to fix it. Next time I do a live stream, I won't play music in the background. So future live streams will stay up. But yeah, this is the layout that I did. I had like gotten that half of the layout mostly done, but everything this side of the Henry tunnels was basically non-existent. But you know, I finally completed the layout, and there are some aspects about this layout that I like a lot more than my last layout, and there are some that I don't. One of the aspects that I like is that the Farquhar branch line is actually accurately represented, somewhat. You know, there are some creative license in there due to just how tracks work out and everything. But to start the tour, as always, we'll tour the main line first, starting at Tidmouth Sheds. I do really like how the tracks between Tidmouth and Knapford look, but due to how things were designed, I like being able to get trains from the yard to the station, and that just didn't work out this time, but we'll get to that in a bit. So here are the sheds at the at the far end of the main line, and no one's in the sheds right now. Everyone's out working. But if we come along out of this track from the turntable, we see Percy is here shunting in the very small yard, much smaller than my last last yard. And I should also mention engine placement, like same as last time. Engines that would have been on the Northwestern pre-1950s, visiting or otherwise. But yeah, Percy in the yard. There's this kind of has a dual purpose. From this side, you know, it can kind of look like it's just a yard warehouse. But from this side, it's like a garage slash shed for like a farm area. And this is like, you know, there's like a little farmhouse. There's Terrence. This could be his field. And then like on the other side of the tracks, there's Trevor and the Vicarage Orchard area. But we'll get back to that part later, because that's more involved with the railway than the actual farm area. But yeah, I just didn't have a place to put this, so I put it here. Elizabeth is actually in there because I lost her dump bed. So the story here is that, you know, she is waiting for her owner to replace her dump bed. But yeah, so we have these tracks here, and then and they all lead into these 3 tracks from the turntable lead into the 3 tracks from Knapford. And this is the one thing, is this track is like completely isolated from the turntable all the way up until the junction over there. So again, it's really hard to, and then the turntable is the only way that you can connect the yard tracks and these 2 tracks to this track. So yeah, it's not very usable, but you know what? It looks good. Making functional yards isn't really my goal, or really shouldn't be my goal, as long as I'm still building in my bedroom. If I had a more permanent space where I'd set up a layout for a more semi-permanent amount of time, then I would try and make a functional yard, because then I'd have it up for a lot longer. But these layouts just stay up for a few weeks. Alright, so here we are at Knapford Station. Gordon is here pulling 3 of my Orbrium coaches, so, you know, you can say he's pulling the Wild Nor'Wester. And here we kind of have 2 options for the main line, because one of the things I tried out was trying making a figure-8 main line. But then I also tried to make it like an oval as well. So we're actually going to follow the figure-8 loop, and then I'll point out the junctions as we come to them. But yeah, these 3 tracks 2, 3, and 4 from Knapford, you know, they all come here, and there's a little siding for engines to rest in, but they come under the Henry tunnels, and you know, that way it leads off into the distance. There's an over-the-track signal crossing. Comes under the Henry tunnels, where we have with pulling a scrap/recycling train. So we got the recycling cars, we got this broken caboose, and then this is a busted cargo car that I do plan on fixing, just with a little bit of hot glue, but I figured for now. And then, you know, this animal car, the only animal car I have, I filled with the broken bit off of this cargo car, and then some, you know, a Lego piece and some transformer parts, just to symbolize scrap. So yeah. Then we come out of the Henry tunnels, and then we come to, we come into this Wellsworth goods depot area. And, you know, we have the Wellsworth orchard, Vickers Orchard apple cider thing. Then we have the Arlesdale Barrel Company. They have a warehouse thing stationed here, you know. And then, you know, there's Edward, and he's loading up a train, and he is talking to Trevor. Also here is the washdown and the, this lift piece, because I had no other place to put these. So the lift is just behind the washdown. So, yeah, for no coherent reason. But, you know, we'll keep chugging along here, because these 2 mainline tracks, they come into, I guess you could call this Sudbury Junction, despite the fact that it has nothing to do with the Brendam branch line, but, you know, you can call it Sudbury Junction. And we have the Sudbury Yard and Station. But yeah, this track, it comes into Sudbury Station. And then, you know, here's my one, this is the only component of the switch yard I have, this and the crossing. The crossing's actually, that's the crossing where Edward's sitting. But yeah, and then, you know, there's another track that goes up this way that we'll get to later, and then it crosses over. And there's a double crossover track, and it leads into a siding where they keep the breakdown train, where there's also a busted set of buffers. Mostly it's the piece of track is busted, and yeah, just trying to use up track to make up sidings, because when I got to this portion of the layout, I was running out of track. So then there's this like loop siding here where we have Dustin's shed, where Dustin is sitting and waiting to be used. And here we have James with a single Knapford Express coach. Yeah, and then these 2 mainline tracks that keep on coming. there's where Dustin's line hooks up. Here is the Ells Bridge Viaduct, or whatever it's called. You know, the bridge right beyond Ells Bridge. And it kind of goes over a river. A pretend river, I guess. And then we come in, and here's Ells Bridge Station, where we have Emily with Old Slow Coach. Emily wasn't on the last layout video because I thought, nah, she was somewhat mass-produced. She wouldn't be on Sodor yet. But then I figured out, oh wait, her class was taken out of service really early on, so it would actually make more sense for her to be here earlier, in, like, you know, as early as the 1920s. And the whole idea here is that, you know, she was, you know, never mind. I'm not gonna go into my whole backstory behind it. But, you know, she's pulling Old Slow Coach around, and she's acting as a private engine for the chairman of the board of the Northwestern Railway. But yeah, here's Ells Bridge. And then here's Lady in a Shed. Oh, both of the engines that are on this layout that weren't on it last time. Yeah, I just put Lady on here because there's no time frame where she was built, and I want her to be special. So she's just she's here. But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, now we have this, like, you know, whole Ells Bridge, Knapford junction area, which is really complicated and has a bridge running over it. You know, here's, you know, Eagle, the red engine, or Winston, the red engine. He's pulling he has a stone train. But we'll get to that portion of the layout later. And so here we have a choice. You know, through this, you know, if we're on the left line, you know, we come to this switch, and we and this switch, this goes off onto the branch line. But this switch, you know, it can take us either on to the main line over the Henry Tunnel, or it connects to this switch under this bridge, which connects to this switch, which connects to this switch, which comes back to this track on Ells Bridge. And then this way, you know, comes to another V switch, and then again there's a branch line, and that track goes into the signal tower. But this track comes back and connects to this switch, which goes up onto Henry's Tunnel, then comes back to this Y switch we saw earlier. So if we take the tracks this way, we come to the signal tower, where, you know, we loop back into where we came from, and we just come back to Knapford. But if we take the tracks this way, we come up onto the left and middle track of Henry's Tunnel, where, again, we see Whiff with his rubbish train, or garbage train, you know, since it's scrap and recycling, so I'm not sure what exactly to call it. And we come down back to the other end of the Wellsworth Goods Depot, where we have 87546, aka Johnson, pulling a train of tankers. And then, you know, his track, you can either go this way onto this line, or you can go this way onto this line, or to where Edward was. And then you can also go this way onto this other line. Wow, looky there at that. Yeah, he's at Marin Station with a train of tankers. And, you know, if we come along here, before we go much further, we're going to travel back along this route, because this is where the Sodor Lumber Company is. And I did that purposely, because we're going to move him out of the way here. Because, you know, this switches to this. So now it can be switched to the Sodor Lumber Company and still make sense. So yeah. And here at the lumber company, there is Harvey, who I am reimagining as being the lumber company's own private industrial engine at this time, loading a flatbed with a half piece of lumber. So yeah, and then there's the log car. And then the sawmill tracks, they converge and they lead on. And along with the main line, they come into Brendam Docks, which, Brendam Docks is kind of more disappointing than, this is, I prefer my last layouts, Brendam, but there are some cool aspects. One of the things about this dock that I like more is that if you come along this line, and you see Henry's goods train, I made this little pier or jetty or whatever they're called for, ships to be loaded and unloaded. Of course, there's my fan is in the way, and there is Transformers Armada Demolisher. That's not a part of the layout, but yeah. So yeah, trucks can be loaded and unloaded by ships. Hypothetically, if there wasn't a fan in the way because it's summer and it's hot. But yeah, it's just a goods train of various goods. And then Arthur, he's just visiting from the LMS at this point in the timeline, and he's just shunting some trucks, some cargo cars for Cranky to unload. And then this, yeah, and there's the Sodor cargo crane, if you couldn't tell. I'm sure you could tell. But, if we come along this line, it leads into the turntable along with the tracks from the sawmill. So these two tracks come into the sawmill. And this track comes to where this cargo drop is, and Victor is shunting the fog cars here at Brendam. Again, like the last layout, I'm just pretending that his basis was standard gauge. So I'm just pretending he hasn't been re-engaged yet and is just shunting here at Brendam. So yeah, he's there doing that. This track leads to the Brendam sheds, where this shed that I was using as the works shed in the last layout is now Brendam sheds. Sorry. And this track leads to this T track, which leads back to Henry's track. Now, this is technically the terminus of the main line, but like the last layout, it does go in a full loop. This is just kind of, it appears like a terminus because this is where the tracks diverge, but they meet up again at Tidmouth/Knapford. Now, we'll take the track that Henry's on, take this line, and we go up over Gordon's Hill, where we see Patriot, the big city engine, pulling two more Orbium coaches, coming down into Tidmouth. Back over the turntable to Knapford Station. And then we'll jump over to Gordon's track, because that just makes logical sense. We'll zoom in here. And if we follow Gordon's track back here, it comes back around Tidmouth underneath this bridge and comes along here where Flora is. And yeah, she also wasn't on the layout last time. But I figured Sodor Tramways, in my own headcanon, Sodor Tramways runs from Great Waterton to Vickerstown and kind of replaces that weird narrow gauge line that runs to Vickerstown on the 2013 map. And then she just ran the line back then. And, you know, her track runs under the bottom of Gordon's Hill and then comes back into the turntable. And that's the main line, all nice and finished. Now we're going to jot back over to Ells Bridge because we have a branch line to tour. So, starting here at Ells Bridge, we're actually going to go this way because technically, although this is technically where the branch line begins, this is where Thomas leads from, it doesn't branch off until Sudbury. So, you know, the branch line, Thomas would come along here, he would switch over into Sudbury Station, and this is just a matter of, this is how the track just worked out. But here's the crossing, or there's the T-switch, here's the crossing, it comes over a crossing, again, just because that's how the tracks work out. Comes under the mountain overpass where there's Birdie, good old Bert. And this is kind of standing in for Hackenbeck Tunnel, which is the tunnel right outside of Farquhar. And, you know, it comes around, and there's Thomas with Annie and Clarabelle at Farquhar Station. And then if you'd come this way, straight on the Brio switch, we come to the quarry. Now again, if you go straight, you can go under the Sling Bridge, into the quarry mine tunnel, across this elevated crossing, curve around the viaduct, back into Sudbury Station. And if you take this track, you come over to the quarry siding, where there are some cargo cars, kind of just straight out there, and that leads back to Ells Bridge. And again, that was a connection that was made just because this is a wooden railway layout, and it's just how the tracks laid out. But if we continue along Thomas's line, back this way, there's a little crossing piece, and then we come up onto this very long bridge where Eagle, or Winston, whatever you want to call him, is pulling a stone train from Farquhar. And this is one of my favorite parts of this layout. This and Ells Bridge Junction, is that this bridge wraps around the entirety of the layout. So, you know, you come along Winston's line, and come onto this third track of Henry's Tunnel, you know, go past Whiff, come into the dumping depot section of the lumber mill. Then we come to where 98462 is, pulling my 3 old coaches behind the deluxe roundhouse. The riser was starting to kick out. Yeah, then we go through the Tidmouth covered bridge, through the middle section of Gordon's Tunnel, across this little viaduct piece. Here's another riser that's starting to kick out. Behind, you know, the Tidmouth sheds, through the Knapford covered bridge, and then down the gradual slope, back into Ells Bridge Junction. And with that, I think that is the entirety of the layout. Let's see, I've gone over every engine placement, every location, every route. Yeah. So, yeah, again, you know, this, I wouldn't call this better than my last layout, but I wouldn't call it worse either. You know, there are aspects that I like I had the bigger yard in the last layout. I preferred the Brendam Dock setup in the last layout, but this layout I prefer the Brendam Docks is the terminus, because that was my intention last time, but what ended up happening is I put them on other ends of the room, not other ends of the layout, which does make a difference. By putting them right next to each other, they are each on the opposite side of the layout, because you have to go through all of that to get to here from here, with the exception of these two mini branch lines. But as far as traveling by main line, you have to go through all of that to get to here. And so it has actually worked out as a terminus. And I do like, I didn't intend this, but a train can come in on the arrival track, then spin around, and then depart. So I can definitely turn trains around very efficiently, because turning around trains with a turntable is kind of a pain in the rear, because you can't attach these aren't take and play magnets. You can't attach trains at either direction. But I mean, most of you already know that. But yeah, I like that the Farquhar branch is there, and I like how it all worked out. I just especially love this long section of elevated track. But yeah, so with that being said, I don't think there's anything else I have to say. So this has been Rudy Productions, showing off my brand new layout, and hope to see y'all next time.